What has law got to do with technique or technology, as some would prefer to say, and with science and the environment? And what importance, if any, this relationship has for the world we live in? My name is Guilherme, and I recently wrote a book called The Great Adaptation: Technique, Environment, and the Law on the Globe. And the idea behind the book was to show that law has been gaining a central role in this relationship with technique, science, and the environment. And that actually we can say that law has a pivotal steering role in this relationship, and that this has myriad consequences for the world we live in. In fact, I try to defend the idea in the book that law is indeed responsible for the structure of the world we live in, and that it will be responsible for building the world we will have tomorrow. Let me explain this idea a little bit more. Take, for instance, climate change and all the societal consequences it brings about with it. We know that the main drivers of climate change are the massive environmental degradation and the non-stop emission of greenhouse gases, or GHG as they are popularly known, and that this has been happening for the past 200 years, a little bit more than the past 200 years. And we also know that the main driver of these activities is the use of fossil fuels. But we also know that fossil fuels are still very important for the world economy today, for agriculture, for the international energy market, for the transportation of people and goods around the world through land, sea, and air. All these activities are dependent on fossil fuels. As such, we can say that the world economy is still highly dependent on fossil fuels and on GHG emissions. But the world economy is not made up purely and entirely of the transportation of people, goods, capital, and services around the globe. Because for these things to happen, there has to be a normative architecture in place, allowing states and corporations to do business in this carbon-intensive fashion that we have become accustomed to. And this is what law does. This is the normative architecture that somehow sews the world together. And this is precisely the architecture of the world that seems to be presently changing. The modification of this carbon-intensive way of being of the law seems to be gaining momentum today. And law seems to be adapting towards the world we want to have, even if it's not without resistance and struggle, as the news reminds us and shows us every day. This adaptation is no easy task, and it will take a very long time to do so. The same way it took a very long time to build the fossil fuel intensive normative architecture that we have today. But this steering power, this steering force that law has, seems to be changing the dynamics within its relationship now with science, with technique, by elevating the importance of the environment in it. And this is what I believe to be the great adaptation of our time, the adaptation of the law we have today in benefit of the world we want to have tomorrow. In the book, you will find a detailed analysis of the long way that law has come from the 1950s up to today. And I hope you will enjoy the connections I drew between past and present evolutions of the law to justify this belief. Thank you.